If you don't believe cables make a difference, then you should definitely try this one. Santa's got some competition in the form of Effect Audio this year, who've just released this special edition Christmas cable. And in fact, it's more than just a cable, it's a special Christmas bundle for audiophiles, including the cable that I've got here and that I'll talk to you about in a moment, as well as a carry case from the 12th of December through to the 26th of December, depending on stocks, of course. This particular cable I'm holding here is going to be available from Effect Audio with this case for $349 US. That means that based on the other pricing of other similar cables, you're basically getting the case for free. That also means that this is a limited edition cable, so you're only going to get it in this period of time, and that's going to raise the question of whether it sounds good, how well it pairs with your IEMs and your preferences, and I'll be sure to answer that in a moment. Because what I've done is I've tested this cable across a number of IEMs, and then I've also compared it to Effect Audio's own Ares S8W cable, and also their own Eros First Anniversary, or the Eros S First Anniversary. So come with me now to find out why this will be a dream cable for many audiophiles out there. The cable that I'm holding here is the Ares S X Cadmus cable from Effect Audio, as I've already told you. And as I said before, it's going to retail for $349 US throughout the Christmas period, and it's coming with a carry case similar to the one that I've got over behind me. And that should mean, assuming it's the same as this one, that it's a good sized carry case. It'll take multiple pairs of IEMs and or cables and or your listening devices, be it dongles, your portable music players, etc. It's got movable dividers if it's the same as this one. It's a really lovely case. Now do keep in mind that, as I said before, the case might be a bit different to what I've got here on my desk, so don't hold out that that's exactly the case, but the point is you're getting more than just a cable, and you're only paying the same amount as you'd pay for other really good quality cables from Effect Audio. As for what's going on with this Christmas cable, as I said before, it's a cross between the Ares S and the Cadmus cable. And what that means is it's an 8-wire cable, and it's using 4 of the wires from the Ares S, which is a pure copper cable, and 4 of the wires from the Cadmus, which is a silver-plated copper cable. So you've got 4 copper cables, 4 silver-plated copper cables, making it essentially an 8-wire hybrid. There's also some special sort of Christmas theming to the hardware, and by hardware what we mean is the plug at the end, the wire splitter, and then the 2-pin or MMCX, whatever connectors you get at the top end. And so what that means is you're going to get some really lovely silver and black accents on the cable. It's not some cliche or kitsch looking Christmas theme, it's a very tasteful sort of silver, sparkly design. And as I understand it, the whole idea of this hardware is it's kind of reflective of glistening snow, very clean, white landscape type scenes. Beyond that though, all I can tell you is that in typical Effect Audio style, the cable looks and feels fantastic. Ergonomically, it's lovely to interact with, lovely to work with. It doesn't hold any particular shape. It's solid and weighty, but it moves nice and easily. It drapes nice and easily across your shoulders. It's just a lovely cable. And then from there, the question all comes down to how does it sound? What does it do to your IEMs if you plug it in? Is it improving them? What's it doing better or worse for your particular preferences? So let's dive in and talk about that. One of my favorite cables on any IEM that I've previously purchased has been the cable on the Thieaudio Prestige. That's the Prestige Limited, and now also the Monarch Mk3. By the way, I've got reviews of all of those coming, that being the Prestige Limited and the Monarch Mk3 with comparisons to the Monarch Mk2 and the original Prestige. That's all coming soon. I'm actually recording it today, so hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell if you want to catch that one. But the relevance to this review is that I really enjoy the use of the cable that comes on the Prestige. And so I thought one of the first tests I'd make is to compare this cable with the new Christmas cable from Effect Audio. What that means we're comparing is a silver-plated copper and a graphene silver-coated cable. I don't know if the graphene is actually the conductor or if it's graphene bonded to copper with silver plating over the top. It's not very clear in the marketing. But the point is we've got a silver-plated copper and graphene cable here, we've got a pure copper and silver-plated copper cable there, and so I wanted to put them up against each other and see what differences, if any, the Christmas cable made. Now I'm going to refer to this as the Christmas cable throughout this video because it's easier, but the correct name for it if you're looking for it on the Effect Audio website is it's the Ares S X Cadmus cable. And by the way, if you're looking for it, I'll put a link in the description down below. You can jump through and buy it there. There's no affiliation here. Effect Audio have just been kind enough to send the cable out to me for review. Listening to Onward Till Dawn by Jesse Cook and starting off with the Prestige and their stock cable, or actually it was the Prestige Limited I was using. And the sound from the Prestige Limited with the stock cable was really nicely balanced. There was a lovely sense of imaging. The treble was crisp but refined and the bass was solid. Everything was just good. The guitar work in this track was articulate and clean, but there was still a good sense of resonance from the body. And then what was interesting was that when I then went over to the Christmas cable, what I noticed was that things like the articulation of the guitar, the sound of the attack on the initial strums or plucks of the guitar strings, that became a bit more emphasized from the Christmas cable. So immediately, for those of you looking for that extra bit of energy in the top end and on the transients, that's where the Christmas cable looks like it could be a really good choice. Something else that I noticed the Christmas cable delivering was a greater sense of texture and breadth in the upper registers. So it's bringing forward a sense of clarity and crispness to the top end, but not in a harsh way. I think the combination of the copper and the silver-plated copper is helping to keep it really smooth, but definitely giving it that extra bit of energy. Depending on your source chain, your IEMs, and your preferences, that extra energy from the Christmas cable might make it a little less easy to listen to for some people. It could lead to fatigue a bit sooner in some cases. But as I said before, it's not done in a harsh way. It's just boosting that sense of clarity, that sense of attack and energy. And for some people, that's not necessary. For other people, it's going to be really, really welcome. I did also feel like that additional clarity was kind of focusing the image a bit better. I feel like overall the soundstage was a bit cleaner. There was a bit more separation between sounds, but it was only a subtle shift. And so I'm not going to go really hard on that one and say that it's absolutely making it better than the stock cable on the Prestige Limited. Because by the time I switched between the cables on the IEMs, it was a little bit of a delay, and it was a subtle enough difference that I'm not completely sold on that one. I think it was better, but I'm not absolutely going to say it was. On the other hand, that additional energy, that additional sense of clarity, breadth, and texture, that was absolutely clear. And so at this point, it looks like the Christmas cable is a great choice for those wanting that extra bit of energy, that extra bit of texture, and attack in their sound. But that of course begs the question of, is it the best cable to buy from Effect Audio? There are other options around, like the Ares S8W and also the Eros S First Anniversary, so which one should you get? Comparing the Christmas cable to these other two, I decided to try a new track, and this time it was Cal de Kubo. The first thing I noticed, starting off with the Christmas cable, was just how aware I was of the hi-hat in this track. It was quite present, quite evident because of that level of clarity that the Christmas cable brings. Beyond that though, everything sounds excellent. The image is wonderful, separation is wonderful, and there's a good sense of texture to all the instruments as well. Jumping over to the Ares S8W, and the very first thing I noticed, because it was impossible not to, was how much fuller the bass got. This really shocked me. I don't normally hear significant shift in the tonality of IEMs when I change cables. But going from the Christmas cable to the Ares S8W, it was like someone had EQ'd in some extra bass. And what I'm going to put that down to, and this is just me theorizing, so I could be way off the mark here, but what I'm going to put that down to is possibly the different frequencies traveling at different speeds through these cables. The moment you add different metals to a cable, because they're different conductive properties, certain frequencies, and this is going to depend on things like the thickness of the plating and all sorts of stuff, different frequencies travel at different speeds through cables. They also travel at different parts of the cable, different depths within the cable. And so what I'm wondering is if there's some sort of phase cancellation going on, maybe the transients that our brain uses to interpret bass are arriving at different times between the Ares S8W and the combination hybrid cable in the Christmas cable. And so the end result is that you definitely hear and perceive more bass from the pure copper Ares S8W. Whether that's better or worse, I'm going to leave up to you, because that makes the Ares S8W sound bigger and thicker overall. Not that it loses resolution and detail, but it definitely has a meatier sound to it. And so what I found was that things like the hi-hat sound was less emphasized from the copper cable, and at the same time, the overall sense of clarity was kind of pulled back a notch. It was more like the sound from the Prestige Limited stock cable than it was from the Christmas cable. I do think that the Ares S8W is probably going to be the easier to listen to cable for a lot of people, again depending on your source chain, your IEMs and your preferences. But there's no doubt in my mind that going to the Christmas cable brings a level of excitement to the music that the Ares S8W can't quite match. So it's going to depend a lot on what you're looking for. And that's where I wondered if maybe the Eros S was actually the best option. The Eros S is actually similar to this one in that it's a hybrid cable. But what's going on in the Eros S First Anniversary is a combination of copper and silver, but pure wire. So it's not plated cables, it's pure silver and pure copper. And so we're continuing on with the same track. I compared the Christmas cable with the Eros S. And by the way, I think that's a limited edition too. So what I'm saying here, you may not be able to buy this cable by the time this video comes out. And therefore it's going to be a matter of looking at other cables in the Effect Audio range that combine copper and silver if you like what I'm about to describe. Or of course, you just grab yourself the Christmas cable if you prefer what I say about that. And what I am going to say about that is that the sound from the Eros S is actually closer to the Ares. And this is not uncommon for me. What I often find is that plated cables bring a bit of extra energy and emphasis to the sound, sounds like transients for instance, whereas pure cables, whether they're pure silver or pure copper, are often a little bit smoother, again for better or worse. I tend to like cables made of pure metals, but other people love what silver plating does, so I'm going to leave that bit up to you. To my ears, sounds like the hi-hat were a bit more balanced from the Eros S. It wasn't quite as emphasised, it didn't jump out of the mix the way it did with the Christmas cable. So ultimately, if you take a continuum where, if we were to say that the Christmas cable is kind of maximum clarity in this comparison, the Ares S8W is, say, here in terms of clarity, it's still very, very good, but not as much as the Christmas cable. I'd say the Eros S is not quite halfway, it's closer to the Ares S than it is to the Christmas cable, but it's closer to halfway. So it's bringing more clarity than the Eros S, but not as much as the Christmas cable. When I went from the Eros S back over to the Christmas cable, the other thing that I noticed was that there was definitely that tighter sense of imaging and focus from the Christmas cable. So those of you that love a really razor sharp image, that's where the Christmas cable is going to be great. Extra attack, extra energy, and a razor sharp focus on the image. Again, it's not to say these other two are slouches, but they balance off a sense of smoothness and easier listening, rather than having all that energy, that attack, done in a very good way, but more energy, more attack, and that focus on the image. And so to sum all this up, I think the Christmas cable is a wonderful choice for those of you that might have an IEM that needs a bit more energy in the top end. For example, I've got an old pair of the original Noble Audio Kaiser 10 custom IEMs. They're a beautiful sounding IEM, but they never had quite the level of attack in the top end that I think they actually needed to have to offset their nice warm bass. Going to a cable like this Christmas cable on those kind of brings the top end to life a bit more and helps those IEMs to really reach their potential in my opinion. On the other hand, I don't necessarily feel that I need this cable on an IEM like the Prestige Limited that's already very, very good in the top end. Some of you are going to love it on an IEM like that. It's all going to come down to your preferences for clarity, precision, articulation, etc. But that's the beauty of a cable like this one. You can choose it to pair up with your preferences and your IEMs and your source chains to get the most out of it. And so if you want to give yourself a treat at Christmas and you've been looking for that perfect cable to bring your IEMs to life and you like what I've said about the Christmas cable, then do use the link down below. It's going to be available and live from the moment this video drops, as I said before, all the way through until the 26th of December or until stocks sell out apparently. And so if that sounds good to you, go grab one for yourself. If you prefer what I've said about the Ares S or the Eros S, I'll put links down below where you can jump through and check out other cables that are closer to those as well. I have reviewed the Ares S8W on the channel. It was part of my snake oil extravaganza video. I've never actually properly reviewed the Eros S. I've talked about it in other videos. It's a wonderful cable that I absolutely adore. I think it was the Sounds Avant review. That's an IEM, the Sounds Avant. I think that's where I first talked about it. It's gorgeous. It's one of my favourite all-time cables. And so I think all these are great. It just depends on exactly what you're looking for. And so as I said, I'll put links down below to all three so you can go shopping and find what you're after. And so as always, I hope you found this video useful and helpful. If you're keen on picking up the Christmas cable, that's fantastic. Merry Christmas. I hope it's a wonderful treat for you. And indeed, if you're not interested in that, still Merry Christmas. I hope you have a wonderful holidays. But I've got plenty more content coming before the holidays, so I'm not going to sign off for Christmas just yet. Instead, what I'm going to say is that if you've liked this video, if it's been useful and helpful, please hit the like button, please subscribe and ring the notification bell if you haven't already. But for now, let me leave it to the music, so happy listening and I'll see you here next time on Passion for Sound.